Alright, time to make your head hurt. This is gonna be a video about damage per second and what that all means. There's 4 different situations in Castle Clash that you have to deal with. There's capped situations for damage, there's uncapped situations for damage, and then there is single target situations for damage and multi-target situations for damage. Capped, single target, think T3 boss or any of the bosses really. Maybe a Wreck Gorge boss as well, but don't have to deal with that too much. But let's say dungeons, Hero monsters, T3 boss, Lost Realm. It's all different kinds. And Storm Mesa 4. I'm just going to get right into it. And first off, we're going to talk about what's damage proc. Try to do the basics here. As you can see in his Celebrate skill, it just says it increases everything. And so PD is just a buffer. Grizzly Reaper right here, he says he deals 255% damage. And all that is if you see a red numbers above the guy's head, it's either his proc making him do that, or crests can make him do that. Slowdown is one of the better ones. Heavy Blow, Deadly Strike as well. So let's go with Grizzly Reaper in a capped DPS situation. In a capped DPS single target situation, he's going to be hitting every 1.4 seconds because it takes 7 hits to make him proc. When going at 200 milliseconds, that's 1.4 seconds. And since there's only one hero or one boss, like the T3 boss, he's only going to be hitting one enemy every 1.4 seconds. Now you take that, go 1.4 divided by 1, it's going to come out to 1.4, obviously. So if you really want to get down to it, you can just make a chart as far as single target DPS heroes, and the lower the number basically means the better the DPS for a single target hero. So we're just going to deal with single target heroes, and Santa Boom is going to be a really good example here. He has 2 rockets that come out that do 10 damage procs for each of them. So that's going to be 20, and then it's cooldown of 7 seconds. So what you need to do is you take the number of seconds he has for a cooldown. Most of the newer heroes have an actual cooldown, so you can see that. If some of the older ones like Spirit Mage, Grizzly Reaper, even older than Immortep, Thunder God will have it, Orc will have it, Ninja will have it, Champ will have it, Succubus will have it, Elites, Executioner will have it, Painda will have it, Frost Witch, Alchemist, Dryad, Hill Giant. They're all going to be at 1.4. But going back to Santa, you take the number of seconds he has, then you divide that by the number of procs he has, and Santa's is 0.35, so that's really low. So the lower you can get, the better it is. Basically, that number is just telling you every 0.35 seconds, Santa is going to make a red number above that hero, and that's going to be a single target DPS. And you can just do that with all of them. Vlad, he's actually, this is a big misconception where everybody thinks Vlad has really good DPS versus like a single target, where actually he sucks because he actually only hits like 4 or 5 targets, but he hits everything. Like an HBM, you'll see him just clear all the troops out because he hits everything 4 or 5 times. But versus a single hero, he only hits 4 or 5 times. But let's say he hits 5 times. And so let's go 6 seconds. And then how many hits does he have? 5. And that's 1.2. So that's really, really high. Compare that to like even a Grizzly Reaper at 1 and 1.4. So he's a little high there. Emo's a really good single target. Santa. Who else we got? Snowzilla. He's actually at 0.5. Once you look at him, he does damage every 0.5 seconds. So every second does 0.5. So that's actually your number right there is 0.5. Now when you come into multi-target cap situations like Storm Mesa 4, you have 5 targets, okay? So let's take our Grizzly Reaper now. He was at 1.4 as a single target. So let's try this with a multi-target. So every 1.4 seconds, he's going to hit 5 heroes, okay? So 1.4 divided by 5, that comes out to 0.28. So that's really, really good for if he's hitting at the damage cap and there's more than one boss. Now Storm Mesa 4, it's about half and half. So his damage actually comes out a little bit higher because after about 45 seconds, you come down to less and less bosses. You come from 5 to 1 or from 5 to 3, and it raises. It's a little bit higher than Santa's, but that's a little bit more in-depth detail. Mino, as far as multi-target, he's really good. As you can see, he's got 45 units every 6 seconds. So 6 divided by 45, 0.13. So he has the ability every 6 seconds, you know, to really do a lot of damage to a lot of different troops and everything. That's why he's so good in like a dungeon. But once you get him down to a single target, his cooldown of 6 seconds is pretty awful, really. He has a base number of 6, and as you know, 0.5 is probably right around the threshold as far as your really good damage dealers are going to be 0.5 and below. So Mino at 6 is really awful once you get down to a single target and it's in a cap situation. Even a non-cap situation versus one target, he's not going to be very good. Where other heroes like Skull Knight is probably the best, as another huge misconception. Skull Knight doesn't have any damage procs at all. So believe it or not, Skull Knight, he's on par with Marauder for damage per second in like tier 3 boss. Granted, he's probably gonna actually hit the damage cap of was it 35k. He's gonna hit there a lot quicker than Marauder will, but after that, they're both gonna top out at 35,000, you know. And since neither of them have a damage skill on him, you know, his DPS is actually going to be really bad. But if you do single target uncap situation, he actually starts to be a lot better just because how his skill works. Serpent Queen, she's every 0.5 seconds as well, so she's going to be really good. I don't know if there's anybody else I really need to talk about. You just have to keep in mind the cooldown. Like Orc doesn't have a cooldown, so single target. Anybody that doesn't have a cooldown for single target they're going to proc every 1.4 seconds. So that's going to be the number you're going to need to divide by. Otherwise, for other people, like Ares is 7 seconds, but In Storm Mesa 4, he's going to have 5 heroes. So you take your second 7 divided by how many damages he's going to do. He's going to do 5, and he's going to come out to 1.4. So he's no better than like a ninja in Storm Mesa 4 as far as damage per second goes. But it's just a brief overview. A couple people wanted to know the ins and outs, and it's a long video. And believe it or not, there's actually a lot more. I can go a lot more in depth, but I figured I'd stop here since it's starting to get to be a long video. But here's your number dump. Thanks for watching. Sorry for the length.